Hello again, friends. How you doing? Kirsten here, your decision coach for the episode. We're going to talk about something that you might not be asking yourself on a daily basis until you find yourself in a moment of frustration and you are exasperated with your decision-making process. We're going to actually clear up what the difference is between overthinking and just being thorough. When does thinking things through in a responsible and authentic way become overthinking? While we tend to throw around the label overthinker here, we actually want to be very, very clear that none of these are permanent states. You are not diagnosed as an overthinker. It is not something that you have to live with for the rest of your life. It is not an ingrained part of your personality you just can't escape. You are who you are, and I love you for it, but you're a human with habits, and habits are changeable. So, what I want to help you do is stop overly labeling yourself and therefore creating this situation over and over again. I'm an overthinker, so here I go overthinking again, and around we go. I want you to actually be really crystal clear when you like how you are making a decision, and I want you to own it out loud. And I want to help you recognize that not all decision making will look and feel the same, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are overthinking over here and doing a great job over there. So, we're going to start our conversation based on this premise that the problem we experience when we experience the problem of overthinking is not the pace of our decision making. It's not even the process itself. It's our relationship to that process. That is the origin story of overthinking. We actually have to be so freaking crystal clear and adamant that overthinking is not an objective descriptor. There is not some decision lawmaker looking around at all of us making choices, being like, well, that is unequivocally overthinking. And that is objectively wasting time and over researching and relying too much on other people's opinions. There is not any ultimate decider, except, wait, hold on. You're not going to be surprised by this. You. You are the ultimate decider. Where the ultimate judgment comes from on whether or not you are overthinking a decision is you. And I don't care how many well intentioned, loving people in your life are standing around you in a circle screaming at you, you are overthinking. If you do not have a problem with your decision making process, there is no problem. And a lot of my clients get overly judgmental when they think they're thinking something through because they want to be responsible. They want to make sure there aren't negative consequences for other people. They want to be thorough, all good things, but they are comparing the way their decision process is going with some made up better version in their minds. And they are judging themselves for not going fast enough, not having an answer quickly enough, having to do too much mental labor in order to get to an answer. They convince themselves, well, a more decisive person wouldn't struggle with this. A better leader would just know what to do. A more confident person wouldn't struggle with these questions. And therefore, I'm overthinking. And I want to tell you, if you don't have a problem with the pace at which you are deciding or the elements you consider in that process, it doesn't matter what anyone else would do in this situation. So I don't want you to judge your decision making on those surface characteristics alone. If you don't have an instant answer to something, if you don't take immediate action on something, if you don't immediately resolve a fear that comes up with zero mental effort or angst or questioning or doubt, that doesn't necessarily mean anything is going wrong in your decision making process. Where we get into overthinking is when we know consciously or we suspect subconsciously our hesitation to decide, our unwillingness to commit to a decision without second guessing it, our propensity for asking other people's opinions. When we know or suspect those behaviors are being driven by fear, guilt, shame, people pleasing, that's when our relationship to our decision making process becomes a little wonky. That's when we might not be ending up with decisions we really love and decisions we feel super confident in because we understand how they got made and we like how they got made. So I'm lovingly nudging you away from judging the fact that doubt comes up at all, that fear comes up, fear of people's opinions, fear of future consequences. The fact that those things happen in a decision making process, not a problem in and of themselves. The energy driving your decision making process and the resulting relationship you have with that process are the only places a problem ever comes from. So there's some stuff to pay attention to here as you get out of this default way of thinking about yourself and the default way of judging your decision making. I don't want you to walk around your life calling yourself an overthinker and therefore giving yourself permission to repeat all the patterns that constantly frustrate you. That's a self fulfilling prophecy, right? You walk around saying, I eat junk food every night. You're literally giving yourself permission to do that because you're like, well, yeah, this is who I am. What else would I do? So if you don't like that, if that's causing problems for you, we want to clean that up from the get go. And you can actually start paying attention to when you are being thoughtful, when you are taking your time, when you are thoroughly investigating the data you want to gather in order to make a choice. You can name that. You can say, it's okay that I don't have an immediate answer to this. I'm still collecting data. And some decisions do inherently take more time just because of the nature of that choice, because of where you are in your life, because of how much sleep you've gotten this month. It doesn't really matter, but not all decisions need to be fast to be good and trustworthy and to end up well in your life, right? Sometimes you do need to sleep on it. Sometimes you do want someone else's opinion. Sometimes you do want more information. Just like you're in charge of deciding your choices are right, you get to decide the way you move through a decision is right. You get to decide, I'm not going to make this decision until I have a lot more information. And you get to call that not overthinking if that's what you want. What you have to pay attention to is how you feel. That's what we're really calling to the surface here. How do you feel about the way the choices get made in your life and how they end up? If you're constantly insisting you get more and more and more information, but you're constantly also berating yourself for taking too much time and mentally exhausting yourself with every choice, that is not the healthiest sounding relationship between you and your decision making process. If you feel a genuine need, this is today's truth. I cannot make this choice without knowing what these other 5 people think about it. And you feel a hollowness in your confidence because you're really aware of the fact that you don't super trust yourself. And there's a real sense of insecurity that comes up when other people don't like or agree with your choices. That sounds like maybe a growth area for your relationship with the decision making process. So there are a few questions you can really specifically ask to just investigate what's my relationship with my decision making. You have a relationship with time, you have a relationship with money. These are familiar concepts. I'm here to tell you, friend, you have a relationship with your decision making process. And it might be time for a little relationship zhuzh. So, a few questions to consider. Am I choosing my process or is it happening on its own? Do you feel like when you enter the decision making process, it's like you're getting on a raft and the white water river rapids are just pulling you wherever they go and like you don't have a say in it? Does it feel like you're constantly yanked around by these voices in your head and these habits from the past and you can't help it, but you're definitely not choosing it on purpose? That's important to know. Here's another question. Do I trust how I'm deciding or do I feel anxious about it all the time or after the fact? And do I like how I feel after I've decided? This is a big one. Like I said, it's easy to convince ourselves we need to do things the way we've done them before. In a way, it's worked because you're still here, right? Even if you've people pleased and perfected and overthought every single choice in your entire life, it got you where you are today, which is technically alive, listening to a podcast. So it has technically worked. Even if we don't do things in the best, healthiest, most aligned way, we can be hard pressed to give up things that we think have technically worked. Like the devil, I don't like it, but it's familiar in here and I am still breathing. If I try something else, if I deviate from the known path, That feels risky. I don't know if that's going to work out. So I might consider these questions and start getting more in touch with your decision making process. I really want you to start owning when you are not actually overthinking. If you've taken the quiz, the decision making style quiz, which is also linked in the show notes, and if you haven't, go do it because it's fun. But if you got the results that you're an overthinker, the solution I offer you is to actually start identifying where you are not overthinking, you are super thinking. Let's own the parts of your decision making process that you like. That's doable number one. And that's easy because you don't have to do anything differently. Just literally keep making decisions the way you want to make them. And then when you like it, when you are on board with taking your time, or you like the fact that you're letting somebody weigh in, own it. Own that for yourself. Affirm, this is not overthinking. This is me making the decision how I want to make the decision. And then I want you to start pinpointing where the parts of this process I don't actually love, that I'm not putting there on purpose, that feel unnecessary. They don't have to be this hard. It doesn't have to happen this way. That's where we can make some changes. And then I really encourage you to just let go of this idea of this is how it should be. This is how I should be making these decisions. This is how Betsy down the hall is probably making decisions because Betsy's so good at making decisions. She doesn't have any of these problems. Or this is how this kind of leader would do it, or manager, or employee, or entrepreneur, or mom, or brother, or dog owner. There is no one perfect way to be doing anything. And what matters most might not be, does everything work perfectly and look sparkly? The most important thing might be how you feel. A radical idea. But since I know you are someone on whom a lot of people depend and who is thinking about a lot of things and taking care of a lot of stuff all the time, I want to be that voice in your head advocating for what you want and how you feel being the most important thing. Even if that just gives them a better chance of making the top of the list, like the top 10, I'm happy. So if you do want help specifically judging the parts of your decision-making process that don't feel super great, you want to get your ticket for the Stop the Spiral workshop, a decision-making method for high-functioning overthinkers. And we're not going to tell you to live in this label, this identity of capital O overthinker. We're just going to give you an opportunity to make your relationship better with your decision-making process if you've recognized it's not as healthy and efficient and clean as you want it to be. And even if you can't come live, you can sign up, get the replay. The replay will be edited and tightened up. If you do come live, there will be opportunities for live coaching, and you're going to really be able to walk away knowing how to interrupt an overthinking spiral. When you catch yourself in these moments where you're like, I don't want to be spending this much time on this, I want you to feel secure in knowing, oh, this does not have to be a problem I just live in and suffer from for the rest of time. Doesn't have to be that way. You can get yourself out of the loop. You can make a confident decision and walk the frickin' frock away from it, and it will feel so good. So make sure you go to kirstenparker.com/spiral and get your ticket, and I'll see you there. And in the meantime, have a beautiful weekend and have fun paying attention to your relationship with your decision-making process. Only good things can come of this. I'm so excited for you. All right, I'll see you soon, and I'll talk to you next week. Hey, want to find out your decision style? Obviously, go take the decision style quiz. It's in the show notes and at kirstenparker.com/quiz. We all have our style when it comes to making decisions, but do you know how to use your default way of thinking to your advantage? Or do you mainly get stuck in the most annoying parts of overthinking and people pleasing? The decision style quiz has your answers, my friend. Take it right now at kirstenparker.com/quiz.